Ah yes, British summertime. Let's go and head into the workshop. Hello and welcome back to Doz's Television Workshop. Did you miss me? Because I missed you too. Interestingly, while I've been away, the subscriber count is still rising gently there, 793 of you at the time of recording, thanks to each and every one of you. If you haven't subscribed, consider that. One day we'll get into a position where, you know, we might make some money out of this. What's changed in my absence? Oh yeah, we had a big workshop clear out. Lots of stuff got binned. I've hoovered the carpet, and quite frankly I'm surprised. One, it is carpet, it's got a pile in places. Two, it's green. Beforehand I thought it was sort of like lino and covered in solder, but no, it's a green carpet, so that's come out nicely. I've bought another 4K camera. The one you're watching me on now, which will go next to the bench in a minute, that's a 4K. And we've got another one, exactly the same model, what I purchased from a lovely seller on eBay, that's now doing the down shots, so you can get a bit more resolution at what I'm doing inside kit, and of course look at the top of my head. I pensioned off one of the older interlaced Panasonic cameras that I've used down here. I've replaced that with a progressively scanned one, so that looked better. That's always the one that did the lower down shot. It was always a bit sort of sepia in tone, older machine. But there we are. Nothing much else has changed, so we've still got 1080i and another 1080p, but that's the one that's not quite so yellow looking. It's a much better sensor. So there we go. Anyway, what are we doing today? We're going to be taking a look at this Technics Hi-Fi. Now, this is a small form factor and it's proper separates. Let me show you. This is the preamplifier. It is a Technics SU-C-01. It's got its own mains input. Ooh, nearly smacked myself in the face with that. And I know for a fact this has a fault because it's dead in one channel, at least on the phono input. So we need to take a look at that. It has some matching brothers. This is the SE-C-01 power amplifier, and I think it's some sort of Class D thing, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be. I haven't had it apart yet. I don't know what's wrong with that, and it comes with a matching power supply unit, which is the SH-C-01 power supply. So that gives us plus minus 42 volts according to a little block diagram on the top there. Yeah, I think we'll start with the preamp because I know that's definitely got a fault on it. Let's get into it. Right. I think first thing I'm going to do is take a look at the preamplifier. I'm going to put the power amp and its power supply to one side. We'll take a look at that a little later. So gather up its cables. And take a look at the preamplifier. So got a run-of-the-mill thing, balance control, some filtration, a loudness or headache button, as my mum used to call it. Selector, we've got auxiliary, tuner, phono moving magnet and moving coil, tape monitor button, on-off switch, bass and treble. Nice. All those have got notches all the way around. Volume hasn't got any notches at all, and balance has a notch in that centre position. It's got a few war wounds, doesn't it? There we are. Right, on the rear, what have we got? Phono inputs, tuner input, output. Oh, output to the power amp, of course. Record out, playback for your tape loop, and an auxiliary input. We have got a mains lead when somebody's fitted a bit of an IEC socket, sorry, on there, a C15 socket. So very good. Extra ground for your turntable. There we go. One thing you'll notice is there's no screws on the side. So presumably the lid comes off forward, maybe after releasing those two screws. What's the bedding? We've got to pull all the knobs. So let's put those in the centre position. Oh, yeah, they're coming. That's coming. Cool. Yeah, they've been on there a while. So that was easier. Volume control, balance is on these sort of concentric things, so may need to get a spudger in on the go. Yeah, let's get a spudger. See if we can just spudge that out. It's not keen. There it is. It's gone. Tape monitor I don't think we're going to need to remove. And the selector switch. Oh. Yeah, that is on there. That's worrying. I just noticed here, can you see that on camera? I'm not sure you can. There's sort of evidence of sort of rusty marks there. This came from a friend of mine, Justin, who visited once, and could I have a look at it? And it's been on that around to it shelf more or less ever since. I do know the preamp has a fault because I needed one to prove something else out once, and I tried it out, and sure enough it didn't want to know, didn't want to play ball on one channel. Let's get the spudger in there. I'm going to break the spudger. Oh, it's going, it's going. Ah, that is really stubborn. There we go. Right. So yeah, I think those definitely needed to come off. So what have we got? I'm thinking these two screws, and then maybe the whole thing sort of slides forward. Only one way to find out. Coarse thread screw. Another coarse threaded screw. Still nothing much keen on moving. That's an interesting feature as well, look. It's got flip out legs, a bit like your keyboard does at the back, so you can stand it up. A neat little feature. Either which way, this is not keen on coming apart. This could be the world's shortest video, couldn't it? Doz fails to get something in bits. Ah, we do have movement on this side here. Maybe these four, perhaps? I'd have thought that would expose the bottom, but yes, you can still really see signs of sort of corrosion in there. I'm betting myself this just takes the bottom off. Yeah, it does, look. Ah! But that's convenient. The whole thing is made upside down. Who knew? Right, well, that's solved an issue, isn't it? So, what have we got? The smell of early 80s electronics is quite there. We have a relay. Look at that. RLY1. Obviously for muting, I would imagine. Selector switch drives all the way to the rear of the unit, right by the sockets. It's obviously at least has some quality about it. Mains wiring is all out of the way. This section here is marked stabilizer with a Z because this is obviously some sort of regulation. Yeah, so it's nicely made, isn't it? completely wrong about taking those knobs off. I could have left them there and spared myself the bother. This top, look, it's cast. How wonderful. Right, so let's get a signal source and our workshop test amplifier out, wire it all up and see what is and isn't working. Right, I've got workshop amplifier is buzzing away nicely. I've got a source of signal from my signal generator here. Good, that's excellent. We've got the preamp here, so we're going to turn that around for a second. Let us try the output right hand channel first. So that's feeding the workshop amp. And I'm going to turn the volume down. Let me just confirm the balance is in the centre position. I'm only going to take these knobs out if I need to remove the PCB actually. So I'm just going to leave the knobs out for the moment. Let me just check where the balance control is. Yeah, it's all the way over one side, which is no good. So there we go. That is now central. So we should be on an even pegging. We're going to need some mains. Lose that mini disc, we don't need that. Mains, where are we? There we are. So that's that. Mains going on. What selector are we on? Let's put that on aux to start with. I have a little red LED. You probably can't see that from where you are. There you go. I shall show it to the camera, indicating something may be happening. So we're on aux, so I need to go into auxiliary on the left. Sorry, the right-hand channel. Let's just see if that's working. Yes, it is. Do all the buttons sort of work? A bit scratchy, but tape monitor, obviously nothing. Right, so let's move along the inputs. What have we got now? Tuner. Interesting thing. It's right up the other end of the tuner. The button is one along. Right, tuner. What have we got? Okay, it's working. What's next? Moving magnet. So I need to turn my amplitude way down. Moving magnet. Now, presumably, there's only one phono input. Yeah, there is. So, there we go. Yeah, it's a little bit distorted because we've probably got too much going in. Moving coil. Quieter because, yep, I'll tell you what, that's noisy. But there we are. Right, so where do we go after that? Oh, we need tape loop, I presume. Oh, sorry, bang the camera on my shoulder. Playback, right-hand channel. Playback, so let's go in there. We want to turn the amplitude back up. Yeah, so the right hand channel looks to be good. Okay, so let's just repeat with the left. Back round to auxiliary. So that's auxiliary. And nothing. So, hang on, wait a second. No, auxiliary's fine. Tuner, fine. Moving magnet, fine. Moving coil, fine. Have I not got a fault here at all? And I had something else wrong last time. Playback. Yeah, there is nothing wrong with this preamp. Well, that's good. We must have issues with the power amplifier. Okay, yeah. What I will do is while I'm in here, we'll clean all the switch contacts and clean it up a little bit and put it back together. Good. up at the bottom. One thing I don't know is why these screws have sort of got rust marks on them. That is rather odd. Looks like the balance knob is actually, look at that symbol there, it's actually meant to be with a thing pointing downwards, which makes more sense. It wasn't like that originally. Volume. There we go. Treble. And bass. And that is my mate Steve going to take me out for a curry, so we'll do the power amplifier a bit later on. Right, part 2 of this little Technics amplifier preamp combo. This is the NE-C-01 stereo DC power amplifier. A little bar graph on the front there, meter range times 1 or times 0.1, 0 to 160 watts allegedly into A terms. Power source DC plus and minus 42 volts. Looks quite straightforward inside actually. Judging by how the other one came apart, we'll just have a look in there in a minute. And we've got this most unpleasant bit of lead here, which has come apart on the ground here, which means we'll have plus and minus 42 volts, but we won't have the ground, so there'll be no ground reference. We're going to have to do something about that. And we've got the power supply itself. So yeah, I think the first thing to do actually is just to power the power supply up. We have a non-compliant mains plug with a broken cord grip, so that's going to have to come off anyway, so it may as well go now. Cord grip's just come undone, hasn't it? That's all the problem is there. We shall take this out and drop it into the unsafe block for now, because it'll need a new plug before it goes home. Is that a sort of, it's just like a copy of a 3-pin Bolgin plug. Got a chunk missing out the side, it's not going to bother me too much. It's not a 3-pin Bolgin by the look of it, I don't think it is. What does it say? SML? SMK. Part number on it. But yeah, it's not a Bolgin. Anyway. I shall salvage the fuse and we shall junk the plug. It's in the workshop bin. Right. Where is the unsafe block? Here. Jolly good. Right. Yeah, it's all a bit shy on mains lead, really, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. Right, I'm just going to ramp this up slowly on the Variac. I don't know the last time it was run. So let's do that. Variac on and turning up. We are drawing absolutely no current whatsoever. Don't have an indicator lamp on the front either. Maybe it needs to see a load before it'll start up. Oh, that's something. Just going to check my power supply's all right. I've just noticed something. Pays to check. Here's my indicator LED. It's fallen inside. Oh, there's 1.8 volts there. No, we're getting mains. There we go. 233 volts. Right, so we could have something wrong with the power supply. I do wonder whether it needs to see a load on it. Let's just repair this just quickly. Sort of put that wire back in that hole where it's broken off. We'll make a better job of that if the thing proves to be viable. All we're going to need is a terminal screwdriver. Where's that gone? It's in the wrong box. Right. So let's just remake this ground connection here. This is very unpleasant. Presumably somebody needed to get the lead through the back of a hi-fi unit or something and cut it and joined it up again. I don't know. Still. Oh, this is going to be awful, isn't it? I don't really know what's going on here. I think I'm just going to take that out and put a Wago in there or something. And just clip them together temporarily, see if we get any life out of it. Yeah, it's very long, that bit. Wish I could just solder them up temporarily, couldn't I? Let's just do that. It'll take a split second. Doesn't like to take solder very well, this stuff. It's probably just old. I should have put a blob of flux on it, really. Where's my blue tack? Where is my blue tack? I said this was going to be a quick job. Here we are, a couple of minutes later, still not done. Right. Right, that's utterly horrible, but it will prove a point. So, let's make that connection again at the rear. There we go, right. So, mains needs to go back in. Hey, red light, and we have power showing on the VU meters, and I think I just heard a relay click. I did. Speaker protection relay. Yes, well that's a promising start. What do we need on the back here? Oh, we got an input, of course. Right, so let's field in the preamplifier from earlier. There might be nothing wrong with this, you know. We'll want the workshop test speakers. interesting. Right and left are sort of vertically transposed, and it's telling me the top terminal here. See the negative symbol on that? Maybe I'll turn the lights off and have a little zoom in. There you go. You can see the speaker terminal here. This side is obviously right, this side is obviously left, and then you can see that one's marked negative, and yet it's a red terminal. Not that it makes any difference. Quad 504, for example, in its standard trim, is an inverting amplifier, so it inverts its signal anyway. But as long as you've got the pair together, it doesn't really make much in the way of difference. Where's the other speaker lead gone? No, yes. Yep, that's him. I shouldn't use mains coloured wiring really for my speakers, it's what I had to hand. You can tell one day it's going to end in a disaster, can't you? Right, there we go. We need a couple of leads to connect the preamp to the main amplifier. Zooming out, there we go. Okay, so right and left. Let's get that around the right way, no? There we go, right and left. Output. Output. Right and left. And for our input, I shall use my old faithful MP3 player, which is actually on charge over here. Oops. Good old Acer, of some years old now, to which I will need a 3.5mm to RCA type phono plug lead. I shall use this deluxe Amazon Basics one. We should go into the auxiliary port. There's one over here. Where are we? Right at the bottom, left is at the top. There we go. Hopefully, I've got some copyright free music on here. Oh, which I haven't, because I'm a fool. One moment, please. Okay. Now I've got some copyright-free music on here. So let's power on. Volume is on 0. Trebles and midships. Auxiliary. We're on tuner. Balance is in the centre. Switching on. Click. Lovely. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's try that. It's from the YouTube music library, so. And I've got nothing. Why have I got nothing? I reckon it'll be a lack of mains in that socket there. Right. Let's power the preamp up and see what happens. And indeed, I have still got nothing. Oh. There we go. Oh. Yes, it's got nothing at all, look, before it cuts out. That's not right. And the power supply is tripping. That's not right at all, is it? So I think one next thing to do is just to put our meter on that power supply and see what's happening. It sounds quite good as it's playing, but just got nothing before it falls over. Right, so what have we got? This is our very unpleasant plus or minus 42 volts. So let's see what we're actually getting. Can you see that? Any camera got a shot of the meter? No, not really. Let's put it there. There you go, you should be able to read that now. Let's have a little measure up, see what we're getting. Minus 38, plus 37. So what's that doing as it cuts out? Yeah, it's resetting, look, so... Stuff. The volts aren't very stable at all, are they? Right, I think we need to switch off. So what do we think? Power supply, perhaps? Let's take it apart and find out. Okay, let's just disconnect everything from the preamp and move the preamp down the bottom. For the moment. And I'm just going to unplug the power amp, because the power amp seems to be doing its thing. It appears to be the power supply, because it's switching the, when it trips, the lamp on the front, the LED on the front extinguishes itself. So, oh, and just looking in there through the bottom, I don't know whether you can see through those holes. You see those two capacitors in there? They don't look in good health. It's always capacitors, isn't it? Right, let's get in there and have a look. Again, a lot of corrosion around these screws. Oh, smells nasty. It's interesting. Look at the screening on this power supply for whatever reason. These are absolutely shot, and that one is warm. I'm not sure these are so good either. They've got slightly swollen plastic caps. Doesn't mean to say they're knackered. They could just... Sometimes it's caused by the inside, you know, venting and swelling the plastic jacket up. Sometimes not. What have we got in there? That's not a lot to worry about. It's got some of that horrible glue on it that becomes conductive, but I'm not particularly worried about that. Oh, let's just switch the mains off, shall we? That's better. So what have we probably got? Fuses, we've got a bit of a power supply going on. I take it the main 42 volts switching power supply. We call it a switching power supply. Pulse power supply unit. Pulse power. We have got a bridge rectifier, and we've got some high voltage capacitors there. So I think we can safely assume this is running on sort of 300 and something volts DC straight rectified from the mains, and that's what's driving the switcher. So what we're going to need to do is get this lot out of here to be able to repair, at least measure some of these capacitors, make sure they're all right. I'm just looking in here. I think the best way to tackle that is maybe to take this panel off for a start. I'm just going to undo screws. it's going to sort of start to relieve a lot of it. I wonder if it's actually easy to get it all out in one hit. So PCBs, switch, and the mystery parts that are in there all in one go. Let's just have a little go at that, because if it does come out all in one piece, it means I haven't got to disturb any of this wiring, because I only want to get to the solder side really. So take that out of there. Mains switch is going to have to come out somehow. So can I actually get that lever off? The sort of plunger. I think that might have been glued on. It does look glued on. I think it'll go. Yep, there we are. So that's the plunger, so I can now, should be able to just lift that out. Okay. We've got some screws for holding down this power supply board. Just need to be a bit careful when we take it out, just in case there's any zappiness left in these reservoir capacitors, because they could be charged up to sort of 300 odd volts, and I don't wish to come into contact with that. Okay, any more for any more? There's one there I can see. If that's it. No, clearly there's something else holding it in. That's another one right under there. Ooh. Gotcha. Right. Okay, that's all coming out now. So, what about this big can? What do we reckon? Black screws again, perhaps? Yep, that's going through into the end of the housing. Those are quite long. They really were a bit paranoid about RFI, weren't they? Just like the same as the original Atari 2600 console. Let's just move the camera a bit so you can actually see what I'm doing. Nope, that's the button, does it? Slacken the screw off. There we go. Right. That's a bit better. Okay. That appears to be, oh no, there's two up here. Okay. And that is all going to lift out as one, I think. So I think for my next trick I should just get the amplifier and turn it upside down and sort of extract the contents this way. Bit unconventional way of doing things, but hey, well, it's worked beautifully. Die cast lid, amazing. Right, that's got it into bits. What's that? Oh, that's the voltage selector switch, I think. Hey, that was a point. It was set to 220, wasn't it? Where's the bottom? Voltage adjust. It's on the other side. I think it was set to 220 or 240. It is set to 240, that's fine. That's our main switch plunger there. That can go to one side safely. Right, zappiness may be present. I tell you what, there's some unpleasantness going on here. One, I think this may be the source of our corrosion. I will zoom in. One moment, that's the wrong way. So you see this on here, any sort of evidence of some liquid at some stage in the past. Dry joints everywhere around here, not so bad around there, but we just need to, well, around here is pretty bad as well, and all over here. This board needs a complete rework. That's alright, we can do that. It'll take a minute, he said. Knowing how long it took a minute last time. Right, let's just check there's no zappiness waiting to bite me in here. So, how many volts? None. How many volts? None. That's good. Where were those other two suspect capacitors? They were over here somewhere. Yeah. That one there, they won't have anything in anyway. No. And that one there, no. Right, okay. So, we want the ESR Wizard. Not the ESR Wizard. The Peak Atlas ESR. Let's just go in for a quick measure of here. 5.2 ohms at 12 microfarads. Don't think that's right, is it? Don't like the ESR for a start. Again, 12 microfarads, 5.7 ohms. There's a big lump for that. What have we got? 470 microfarads at 200 volts. Their end of life. Jolly good. Unfortunately, that's going to be quite expensive, isn't it? What are these two over here? 473, 0.06 ohms, that's encouraging. 0.07, it's 474, so what are they, 470 mics? How are they still alright? Let's just check on the value as printed on the can. No, they're 220 microfarads. So, those capacitors are all baked, so to say. So, they're going to want a replacement. How disappointing. Let's get on and desolder them and order some spares, because I don't suppose I'm going to have the relevant thing. No, we've got an error. What's going on? No. Joy, the desoldering gun has failed. We shall do it the old-fashioned way. These are snap fit, so I shall be able to wheedle them out. Try not to use desoldering braid these days on account of the price. We'll just widen that shot out so we can see what's going on. He's only got one leg, it's left the other one in the board. I think there's your fault. Same with that one, look. Yes, right, good. Fault located. So what are these? 470 at 200 volts a piece. 470 at 200. We might be lucky. Quite short though, aren't they? What's that? Oh, 10,000, that's no use. 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. Those are going to be too big. Wonder if we're going to have anything. What have we got? What have we got? 330, 300, 470 at 200. What were they? 470 at 200? 470 at 200. I've got one. That's not fair, is it? 470 at 200. I haven't. I've got two. Are they going to fit? Ooh. No, they're not. Blast. $47 at 400. Guess what, folks? We shall have to order the spare parts. That's going to be expensive, isn't it? 470 mic. Yeah, that's a pity. Never mind, we can't win them all. Let me just fetch that remaining leg out of the board. Actually, I ought to look at the other side of the board, see what it looks like. Shall we? Oh yeah, look, they've rotted off. Oh, and it bloomin' reeks. Oh! The smell of rotting capacitor. Most unpleasant. You can see where the liquid has been oozing out. Can you see the sheen just on the rubber cap of the capacitor there? They're marked up for polarity. I did take note anyway, mentally. But we'll get those other two out while we're here. I have to imagine this thing gets quite warm as it's running, especially as it's allegedly capable. Well, the meter on the front goes up to 160 watts, mind you. The speedometer on my car goes up to 110 miles an hour, and there's absolutely no way it would ever get there. Could all be marketing guff at all. Again, oozing out of the slightly lower value ones. That one doesn't look so bad, but it's got the shrunk jacket look, which generally means they've started to get warm in their lives, and literally the plastic has started to shrink away from the metal cylinder, which gives us a clue every time we see that. Just change it. Don't waste your time, really. Okay, right. Let's get on and order some spare parts. Okay, that's ordered the parts. It wasn't as cheap as I'd hoped for. Thankfully, I've already got some 220 mic 100 volts there, so they'll be fine. But just in the interim, I'm just going to rework this board because it is full of dry joints. I shall switch the soldering iron on. It works much better that way. So let's just work our way around here. You can see this one's exceptionally grim. It obviously runs hot. Clear out the holes for the 100 volt parts. The rest of the board looks really quite good. Maybe a slight formation of a dry on there. The rest of it looks really very good. That's reworked all I'm concerned about, I think. Yeah, they all look good. Right, let's just slip these in and solder them in to place. Alright, negative is to the left. Well, that's that. I'm half tempted to open this can, just out of interest, to see what's going on in there. So, yeah, let's do that, shall we? Just to see what's happening. Move these bits out of the way. Signs of corrosion on these screws again. Maybe a bit of moisture's been got on it there, I don't know. You sort of see a staining on the top there. Hard to say, really, isn't it? It's survived well if it has been underwater. I bet you if I had the service manual for this, it would say something along the lines of return to factory for service. Don't open. Only time you have to heed those warnings is when they contain beryllium, which this won't. They must have a warning label on if it contains beryllium. Most unpleasant chemical, beryllium. You don't want to breathe its dust. Right, is this going to come apart, do you think? Oh, it is. Gosh, they went to town on the RFI, didn't they? Look at that. Those capacitors look absolutely super. And you'd expect that in an enclosed tin to be horrible, wouldn't you? But there it is. Nice high frequency power supply. I mean, that is built, isn't it? And they really went to town on this RF shielding. Look, there's 2 gaskets in there just to prevent anything from leaking out. How utterly wonderful. One thing we haven't done is date this. Can't see any dates on any of the capacitors even, which is a great shame, really. Oh well, there we go. That's nice to see. Everything looks good in there. So yeah, I think I'll just button that back up and wait for these capacitors to arrive. Right, back in a bit. Right, so eventually new parts have turned up from RS. So let's confirm we've got the right sort of thing. There we go. We've got a Nippon 200 volt 470 mic. 470 mic, 200 volts. Lovely. It's a pitch of the legs about the same. I don't know why they've included sort of like a bit of ESD foam. It's only a capacitor, but anyway. Pitch looks to be about the same. Are they just going to fit in the holes and make my life so much easier? Or is it going to be a slightly different pitch? See, I won't get it in the holes at all. Come on. Good grief. Oh, that's a good fit. Excellent. ESD foam. Why? Madness. Right. Are we now starting to consider electrolytic capacitors ESD sensitive devices? Who knows? There we go. Right, we shall solder those back in position. Lovely. We reworked all that, so that's looking very pleasant now. So let's button it back together and see if it actually works. Right. Now, let's bring up the case. There's our faulty parts. Straighten that LED out before we get into trouble with that. Ah yes, we need to put the plunger back on the main switch. Bring over my tray of bits. Plunger back on the main switch. LED located in the hole, and all the components seem to be sort of lining up. So let's get the switched mode can back into position first. The base plate. No. Yes. Now hang on, I've got one black screw there and they were all on the inside. What am I missing? Let's just take that back apart. Can't abide a missing part. You get a screw left over. Oh, it pushes all my buttons, that does. So, didn't we have one under here actually? Yes, there it is. Right at the back of this sort of primary board. Right in there, that's got him. Yeah. There we have it. Right, it's time for the test. Ah, Tim, if you're watching, this is the MP3 player we talked about the other day. Tim has just repaired an old iPod with a mechanical hard disk in, and this indeed has got a mechanical hard disk in. He put a new battery in it, and yeah, it even still syncs with iTunes. I didn't even know iTunes was still a thing, but then again, I'm not an Apple kind of a guy. Right, now, I can't currently switch this on, because the long and suffering Mrs. Dawes has been working some long hours, and she's having a nap before her evening shift. So come back to me in just a couple of moments. Right, so the MP3 player is playing. Amplifier appears to have come on all right. We've got a click there. Let's bring the preamp on and just turn things up. Oh, excellent. And it's no longer cutting out. Excellent. Right, one job remains, and that's to do something with this horrible mess here. So I think a little bit of a heat shrink type repair. Solder these wires together. Heat shrink around the whole lot, and I reckon that'll be a much improved repair. I suppose I could put a new piece of lead in, but to be quite honest, this plug has already got a chunk out of it. It looks a bit fragile, and I don't want to bother it too much. So, somebody really knife and fork that, really. Let's take my solder blob off from earlier, and let's trim all this down. I can also see these conductors here, look. Let's have a little zoom in, shall we? Oh, tilt. There you go. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but that's got a slit in it. So we need to cut it back to at least there. Let's see where it's been got at in two places. So let's cut that back there. Ow! Stuck in me. Nasty stuff. Okay. So I think we're going to want to trim a bit more of the insulation back on here. What have we got on this side? This doesn't look so bad. There's a risk of a short circuit there, though. Okay, that's not looking too bad at all. Let's tin these wires up. Okay. Trim those back a bit. Same on this side. Just seeing if that conductor's been damaged when somebody did it last time. I think it's okay. That's good. Okay. Box of heat shrink. Now, is that going to be big enough to go over the whole thing? If so, we'll want a bit of that. Or just. I wonder if that might be a bit too thin by the time we've got it in there. I'm going to go with the next one up. This one here. Okay, so I'm going to slide that all the way down. And I want to join these two wires together and then sleeve the white and the red independently. Now I know what you're thinking, why didn't I stagger the red and the white? So, you know, in the event of the insulation wearing through. Yeah, I could have done, but we're starting to get a bit short on this lead. So, yeah, we'll use the thicker black heat shrink anyway. So we're going to want about that much, 10 mil or so. That's why I need these tinned up, because I've got to be able to work quickly and push that heat shrink over the joint just the instant I make it. Otherwise it will shrink down onto the wire before I'm finished. So this is going to be the modus operandi. Can you see me? You can't. Let me just move the top camera so you can actually see what I'm doing. There, you can see now, that's better. Alright, so I want to be quite rapid here. Bring the two together. Solder, push the heat shrink across, job done. Right, where's the little hot air gun? Let's just shrink this one down, keep it out of the way. Making sure I get sort of adequate shrinkage on it as well. You know, it's not a Wireman splice or anything, is it? But it's not going to fly. I'm just going to orientate those a little more conducively. Got a reasonable amount of overlap there. Slightly stubborn now. There we are. Keep leaning on it just as I get it in the right position. Right. Coming at it this way. There we go. Shrink that one down. Give it a little. Ah, damn it! The red didn't take. So I'm going to do that one again. I did wonder when I did it, especially, of course, it was the one I did on camera. Where was that heat shrink? There it is. Okay. In fact, it was bigger than that, wasn't it? I think it was. Yeah, there we go. Don't think it's quite tinned at the end of there. That's our problem. So let me just have another go at that. I think this iron tip is reaching the end of its life. Cool enough. And there we go. Right, let's do it all again. That's better. Happy with that now. Much happier. There we are. We shall recouple. Let's just check it. Yeah, it's good. Recouple those grounds back together. Put the large piece of heat shrink over the whole shoot and match. And we're there. Let's see if we can organise this so it wants to sit nicely. That looks reasonable. I'm going to burn my thumb. I can just feel it. Yep. Oh yeah, that's looking fine. So we just slip this heat shrink over the whole lot. Failure to ignite. There she goes. There we go. Much neater than that rubbish. Excellent. So there you have it, the Technics C-01 small form factor hi-fi. I wonder if they did a tuner and a cassette deck, maybe a turntable that matched it at the time. But there you go, all for the sake of some 4 rotten capacitors. It lives to fight another day, another saved from landfill. All that remains to be said now is click like, subscribe, do all that rubbish, and I'll see you really soon here on Doz's Television Workshop. DCI over there. Sorry, 1080p these are. Let's just do this again, because I cocked it up. Where are my strippers? One set, not the set I want really. Well, that's not maddening at all, is it? There you have it. The Technics C-01 series of small form factor, that's the phone. So now all that remains to be blah 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 blah, bloody thing cut out. Let's do that again.